Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. This is the last replay I'm going to be showing from my Mercenaries Melee tournament. We've got Felcon versus Slate X, so a matchup that I was very much anticipating, did not get to watch live. We've seen both of these guys, both live and in replay before. We've got Slate X under the name Git Crumper here with Skarsnik, who he played throughout the whole tournament, and Felcon with Lokir Felhart, who he played throughout the whole tournament. So, yeah, definitely a match I've been looking forward to. Let's see what happens here. We've got two Cold One Knights, of course, Lokir. We've got a Death Hag on her party cart. Sorceress, couple Blackheart Corsairs, couple Blackguard of Nagaron. Very interesting pick. Dread Spears, more of a defensive, almost infantry corps for Felcon, which is interesting. We've got Spider Riders in the back here for the Gobos. Huge line of Goblins and Orc Boys, 8-peak Loonies here, some of which have some good XP chevrons going on. Very nice combat stats there. Orc Error Boys, we've got Rusty Errors mixed in. Huge line of Archers here, Broken Tusk Mob. Very interesting. Both very, very interesting builds. So we'll see how this goes. These Blackheart Corsairs are going to be very effective at kind of skirmishing this Orc line, Orc and Goblin line as they advance. Some of them do have shields. The Goblins especially have pretty good missile block chance. But oh man, these Spider Riders, that's a decent, 550 points all ranked up like that. It's pretty rough. They're probably going to get terrified away there immediately. No, maybe not. Speaking of terrified, this Death Hag comes in here, but she is just going to eat all of the arrows here. And these, despite the fact this thing has a lot of armor, you know, these ladies standing on it don't seem to have a lot of armor on, and they will get filled with all of the arrows here. And she's going to get pushed back from that front line there. Great for the Greenskins. Unfortunately, that unit of Spider Riders is pretty much gone, but he's going to have to be careful. If this other unit of Spider Riders gets caught here, that is going to do some pretty good damage to his mobility ability, but very nice use of the Fanatics there to cut through, do some good damage on those Blackheart Corsairs there. Nothing amazing, but hey, every little bit counts. It does look like, unfortunately, that the other group of Spider Riders did get caught. There are still two more, though, hanging around the flanks here. And oh man, just look at these Blackguard of Nagaron getting torn apart by that bowfire there. One thing a lot of people don't realize, Greenskins are probably one of the best missile factions in the game in terms of their standard missile infantry. Because Orc Airboys have really good AP values for the cost, they're decent in melee. If you have a look here, 6 AP per shot for the Savage Orc Airboys and the regular Orc Airboys, so that is a serious amount of armor-piercing damage, especially with the Rusty Airs providing, you know, armor sundering so that they do even more. His bowfire is doing a lot here. Unfortunately, the Greenskins infantry line is not really holding up, and oh man, this burning head is going to rip through this line of Greenskin archers. That just did an obscene amount of damage, holy cow. And the Rusty Airs get fully routed off by that. 113 kills on that Fire Sorceress now. Holy guacamole. That was a serious dent in the balance of power here, and it's going to be tough from Slay to come back from that. I mean, he does still have a lot of tools left on the field, but these Cold One Knights coming through, he's probably going to activate these Spider Riders to try and get through. Looks like they may try and actually bail out the Shaman here, go after the Death Hag. Very interesting. Skarsnik's going to come back and go after these Cold One Knights. That's not a bad idea. He does have anti-large AP, but oh man, now Lokir drops down in the back line to start terrifying away these archers, and it's not looking great for this particular battle for the Greenskins. A Wa now being popped a little bit late, but Destroyer was or I guess Destroyer's not really active here. I'm not really sure. Probably wanted to have used that a little bit earlier on in the battle. I'm not really sure what the deal was there, but yeah, the Terror is going to be the main issue for the Greenskins now. They weren't really able to protect their missile line super effectively. They do still have a few missile units left, but this is potentially a good situation here as these units come back from route. Like if the Rusty Airs can turn and begin to fire here on Lokir, maybe get a little bit of a crossfire going, they could potentially come back. But yeah, you can see the Orc Shaman getting routed off here. Skarsnik was able to enrage those Cold One Knights, but another unit breaking through here, and a beautiful burning head going down the line of Orc Boys there, and Goblins roasting out a few more. Doesn't look like it was overcast, but it does go all the way down, and just clip these Savage Orc Airboys as well, which is pretty decent. Yeah, at this point you can see the Greenskins are getting pretty close to critical army losses, so we'll see. Probably not going to hold out too much longer, but it was a good effort by Skarsnik and the boys. But interesting build here, just punching through aggressively. And yeah, I think the main mistake for Slade X was just trying to get a little bit over-aggressive with those Spider Riders. If he had kept them in a more conservative position to protect the back line, so that once his front line started to crumble a little bit there, you know, that they would be able to countercharge like those Cold One Knights and other units that were coming in the front line. Yeah, it's definitely a tough matchup, but Falcon's build, the thing is here is that because you outnumber him so significantly, you can sort of pick your battles, if you will. Like, I would have probably tried to keep all of these Spider Riders in the back line, as well as the Broken Tusk Mob, to just act as a reserve. Send the front line forward, and then keep these guys back so that once those Cold One Knights start to break through, then you can, you know, countercharge with them, countercharge with the Broken Tusk Mob especially, and then use them to kind of take out these units. Because, I mean, there's only, what, 5 infantry units here? I mean, granted, Slade did only have the same 5 infantry units, and they definitely weren't going to match up evenly here. I mean, Goblins would do in a vacuum okay against Dread Spears, but you can see the Death Hag got 83 kills, took a ton of damage initially, but was able to pull back, kind of resecure, and then come forward on that second push and do some pretty good damage. When she's standing on top of a group of infantry, kind of rolling around doing the cart animations, she can rack up a ton of kills, so definitely good use of the Death Hag there. And of course that devastating Burning Head in the back line was definitely the backbreaker for the Greenskins. You know, if that hadn't been able to get so many kills on those missile units, it also heavily debuffed their leadership. So, you know, they, like, the Rusty Arrows just straight up routed off, right? Because between the damage and the leadership effect, it was just all too much, right? So, yeah, credit to Falcon there for an extremely well-placed Burning Head just roasting down the line. And, yeah, Blackguard actually did okay. Personally, I'm surprised not to see any Black Orcs from Slade. I mean, they are pretty good in this matchup. I do sort of see what he was going for here, but personally, I might have cut, like, maybe a couple of these Arrow Boys. I think this is maybe a few too many missile units, and maybe upgrade this infantry line a little bit more, bring a couple more, like, nasty Skulkers with the Smoke Bomb and, you know, some melee attack buffs. They'll especially trade well against some of these higher tier units like the Blackguard, the Cold One Knights. They will trade pretty efficiently. You can also use the Smoke Bomb to control movements of, you know, like Lokir, for example, and the Cold One Knights. So, I mean, granted, I'm like giving advice to Slade X, who's known as a master of the Greenskins, but, you know, I gotta call it like I see it, and everyone can learn something, right? And that's the cool thing about Total War Warhammer. One thing that I really, really love about this game is that it's basically like an infinite level of mastery, right? Like, even the best players, you know, in the world, other people will watch their replays and, you know, point out different things and, you know, maybe discuss builds, how could this be more optimized, this and that. But I mean, granted, the top tier of players, like the real champions, they are just on another level for most people, but at the same time, like, I don't know, it's one of those, Total War Warhammer is one of those games where your ceiling is pretty much based solely on how much time and effort you want to put into learning the game and practicing. And there's probably some talent there as well, you know. But, yeah, it's kind of like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in that it's like an infinite level of mastery, right? So the Greenskins are one of those factions that, I mean, if you were good and you have good knowledge with them, good matchup knowledge, you know, good micro and everything, you can be absolutely devastating, even though a lot of matchups don't necessarily look that great on paper. Again, Dark Elves is tricky. You know, Dark Elves are sort of in the same boat. I would say Dark Elves, High Elves, Greenskins, and the Empire are all sort of the most, what I would call, combined arms factions, where it requires not only sort of a broad knowledge of game mechanics and like how different unit types work, you know, what's good against what, buffs, debuffs, you know, magic, all of that. It also requires you to have multiple different types of units and use them in concert, sort of work together. It's sort of one of the reasons why I enjoy playing these factions so much. The two elf factions less so. I'm not the biggest fan of elves in general, but certainly if you are looking for that more combined arms style, high elves and dark elves do offer that quite a bit. And Loke here, pretty cool pick. Honestly, I think he might be a bit of a hidden gem in the Greenskins matchup. Greenskins can sometimes have a hard time with the anti-large. Really, their most effective anti-large is honestly what Slade showed there is the mass Orc Airboy fire. They don't have any really good dedicated anti-large infantry. I mean, Orc Biggins are okay. They're sort of mid-tier, though. I really, really wish that we would get, like, anti-large on the Crimson Killers, for example. I think that's probably asking for too much. But it would just be great for the Greenskins to have more anti-large in terms of their infantry, because right now they rely primarily on their missiles, which just sort of feels wrong somehow. Like, with the Greenskins, you should be fighting... I mean, granted, they did give the Arachnorok Queen some anti-large, which definitely helps in a number of matchups. But, yeah, it really requires you, again, to go for sort of a combined arms approach. And, yeah, Lokier can definitely disrupt pretty well there, especially in tandem with that magic. So I do kind of like the pick there. Reasonably tanky. If you can shut down the missiles, then they're going to have not a lot that can hurt Lokier. And, I mean, the Spider's not that great of a pick against the Dark Elves because they do have pretty effective armor-piercing missiles. So it can be a bit risky there. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I think it's honestly a pretty even matchup, Greenskins versus Dark Elves. Definitely a fun matchup, and well played to both players. They both played excellently in the tournament. And once again, thank you to everyone who was involved. It was a huge pleasure to cast. I had a great time, you know, casting the tournament itself and all of these games after the fact. So stay tuned for an announcement soon, though. I'll be announcing Total War Warhammer Multiplayer League soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm not going to say when, but soon. I won't say more. If you do like this, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, all that jazz. And if you want to support me more personally, be sure to check out the Patreon or become a member here on YouTube. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.